Ladies and gentlemen, ears of corn all over the internet and the world, welcome to the Corn Chronicles. The search continues. This evening's guest is none other than Greg Poppy Seed Sullivan, joining me all the way from York, PA. Greg, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Excited to be here.
Right on, man. That's so good to hear. Greg is a dear friend of mine that goes back to our college days, starting right around freshman year, by all means.
Mhm.
First of all, I want to address an elephant in the room before I even ask Greg any questions. You're going to hear me throughout this interview. I'm probably going to slip, and I'm not going to say Greg very often. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call him Seed or Poppy Seed. Right off the bat, I want to at least, that's not the most common nickname in the world. That's not Sport or Champ or, or even his last name, you know? It's either that or Notorious Greg. No. All right, I'm an idiot. But anyway, when we were far younger, Greg used to have hair in the style of Jesus, we'll say. You know, he had a kind of a Nazarene look, we'll say. But there was one particular day where, with the way his hair was and his facial hair to match, he looked a little bit like a Spanish conquistador in my eyes. But again, who could trust my eyes? And it reminded me of the scene in the Chris Farley film Almost Heroes, where those two conquistadors are trying to kill Chris Farley and saying, one cannot help but smile when they say Poppy. Now, if you're out there and you're like, you don't, you Caucasian man, obviously Poppy means father in Spanish. I wasn't going to go around calling one of my friends father. I wasn't, even if it was something that I created of my own doing. So basically that just kind of morphed and turned itself into Poppy Seed. I made it the Poppy I wanted to use, and Greg was very patient in putting up with me calling him that for now over a decade. Greg, I remember, and tell me if you have any recollections of this, because I was thinking about this just prior to this little show here. I do remember one time I saw Almost Heroes. It was on TV at like midnight, and I made it a point. I was living at home with my parents, and I made it a point to film the conquistador part because we couldn't find it on YouTube at the time. And for all I know, it's there. It's been 10 years, but at the time, it wasn't on YouTube. And I remember I stayed up like past 12 to like make sure I saw the part in the movie, and I taped the little conquistador part on like an old VHS tape of God knows what. And then I come back into college, after whatever break we were on, and I say to Greg, man, like I got a surprise for you, But it's not even something I can just give him. I literally had to call and text around to see who had a VHS in college. You know what I'm saying? Because even then, it's just like, who has that anymore? And finally, we found Diane's apartment had one. And I was just like, yo, can Greg and I come by there real quick? And she's like, sure, whatever. So, one, in hindsight, one of the craziest and borderline creepy things I've ever done is it's like, Greg, I got you this VHS tape. And then after I showed it to you, I'm like, you can keep that, And like, who keeps that? Oh, Lord. Greg, as much as it will probably paint me in a very bizarre light, but I'm used to nothing less. Any memories of that at all? Or is it something that's tried to black out from your mind?
No, I definitely remember that. I was actually going to say that when you started bringing up the nickname. I very vividly remember being handed a VHS tape when I don't think I'd held a VHS intentionally for probably at least 5 to 10 years prior to that. But yeah, no, and then I did keep it. For a little bit, I couldn't tell you where it is at this point, but I did have it because I remember coming across it in one of a move like later. And it's like, oh yeah, that's that tape with like 10 minutes of Almost Heroes on it.
Yeah,
Not the rest of the movie. Just
I would be more curious to know. Like, it might be like a 10th grade, variety show performance. Like, if you really looked at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what's actually on that tape? But bottom line, Greg got 10 minutes of Almost Heroes. He got a nickname out of it. He got a really creepy videotape, which I thought for some reason would be the coolest thing to give somebody. But you know what? It lasted more years than it probably should have. So
that's
I
probably
appreciate that.
true. Oh man.
So Greg and I met in college, and to be honest, I think the circle of friends we were running around with anyway, um, we would have been friends no matter what. But a big part or a big place where we, kind of molded our friendship was, of course, with the Rhapsody acapella group. Why don't you tell me from your perspective? I mean, if you want, what brought you to York, this, that, and the other thing. But what kind of led you to Rhapsody, and what kind of made you pick up the mantle you did? Because I know you were a big part of that program for sure.
I don't know. It's just something I always enjoyed. My major claim to fame with Rhapsody is I never actually auditioned, so just throw that in there real quick.
There you go.
I was joined with a, hey, you sing bass, right? 2 weeks before the concert. So I was like, sure, yeah, sounds good. But no, it kind of grew into my core group of friends, like core family in college. And then the opportunity, kind of run with it, do the musical director thing. Yeah, it seemed like a good fit. I liked it. Had a great time with it. So definitely don't regret any of it, though, at all.
Good, man. Yeah. We got some cool T-shirts out of the deal, too.
We did. I know at least where one of them is.
Right on. Right on. I think we only had one.
There was that purple one, too.
Oh, right. I
don't know where that one is.
I think we graduated, but we were so fresh out that they were just like, guys, you got to have these.
Yeah, I don't know. I still have the blue one, though.
So tell me a little bit about what the transition was like from singing bass, having fun, and obviously it's always fun, but it's a different measure. Oh, no pun intended, I promise. But it's a different measure of responsibility when suddenly you're kind of tasked with leading the group. And, I remember that wouldn't be an easy transition for anybody. And I give you a lot of credit for taking it on. But two, it was kind of, if I remember correctly, like there was really only a short list of people that would be capable of it. And I give you a lot of credit for stepping up. What do you think? Take me through kind of that transition. At the risk of getting too serious about a college acapella group, it was obviously important to us. And I give you a lot of credit for taking on that responsibility.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, realistically, and I know you can attest to this because you, for all intents and purposes, joined about 2 weeks after I did,
Yeah.
in terms of college time. But yeah, I know that as a group, we had been getting kind of more serious, kind of branching out through the campus, doing more, shows and whatnot. And I really enjoyed that kind of transition. I went that direction, so I wanted to kind of keep us going that way. So, with that, obviously, you got to kind of keep your music up to snuff. And you kind of touched on, there was that realization that, when Kaylin was leaving, that, somebody has to do this. The short list of people is pretty small. I not to toot my own horn, but, I felt like the most qualified. So I figured, what the hell, I can do this. My piano skills aside, we made our way through it, but yeah, it was good. It was a good learning experience for me too. Kind of having that leadership role. Definitely taught me a few things about leadership and group dynamics that go with it as well, which kind of out a little bit of the fun aspect of it, but still was a great time. Wouldn't change it, and I take it with me. I still put it on my resume. It's still at the very bottom.
Yeah, man.
for leadership opportunities.
I have that. It's not, mine is not at the very bottom, if I'm being honest, because mine has the president next to it, you know.
Yeah,
President still owns some weight, you know. But no, it's pretty much at the bottom. Yeah.
I think references available upon request is lower.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no doubt. That's it. That's the only thing. I throw some asterisks after that one, you know. Oh, dude. Yeah, man. Certainly teaches you a lot about leadership. I know you took care of everything musical. I tried to take care of everything. Uh, gosh darn, York Revolution related. You know, no. Maybe,
got me there with the carousel, man. I'll hit that button all day.
you know, one of my favorite, one of my favorite visions in college ever. And a couple of those days weren't a treat, if I'm being honest. And I love,
No, some of them are miserable.
yeah, some were very warm, shooting off a cannon every time like somebody gets a home run, and like there's no warning, you know, like literally just gunfire at, you know, like you can't even pretend, man. Good
No, it still gets me.
man. A couple of times, like literally jumping out of my skin, and you're around kids, so you can't say the words that are coming to mind. But all that aside, one of my favorite images in the world is Betty Mason being kind enough to help us out and being as as dry as a stick of hay, and then just like it's standing there at the carousel, just like hitting this button, and kids are like talking to him, and he's just like, no, you know, like like it's not emotionless, but like pretty damn flat, man. To this day, he's one of the characters I based my horseplay on. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But sitting at that carousel is one of the funniest things I think ever in my life. I treasure that. Now, you mentioned, you know, in a way, obviously there's a formality that comes with teaching and directing a group. That said, I know I have some memories to share here, so I'm not going to put it all on you. I do know that a lot of that formality kind of went out the window whenever the Rhapsody guys got together as the Zoot Troop and kind of created music. Why don't you take me through kind of any specific memories there, or any, take us through kind of that change in dynamic from your perspective as the director.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you're well aware that I pretty much did all the guys' rehearsals from almost my first semester. After Brian Thompson left the group that first semester, I think is all he did. I don't remember.
What a name! But, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, so it kind of cut my teeth on it there, but it was always a lot of fun, you know. And then I know there were plenty of times where we kind of just cut loose of like, hey, let's make this up as we go, more or less, and kind of threw together a couple tracks, if my memory serves me right, with just kind of making some things up. But yeah, it definitely a lot loosey goosey, and you had some fun with it.
See that, yo, there was a lot of just, yo, let's try this. It was so beautiful, man. I remember I had like this sublime arrangement, which is basically just like, hey, these are the chords, and we'll just make this noise. But then I was just like, yo, in the middle, like let's just make something up. And then I just started with like the Booba Chickens, you know, and I'll never forget the Booba Chickens. And then before you know it, people are jumping in and we're singing Bob Marley and the Jungle Book and all over the place. And even we did that Queen, the We Will Rock You, where we essentially never really even sang a note.
Yeah, it's just kind of just boom, boom, clap. You guys got that? Okay, cool. Let's do it.
You guys got that. Aye, yeah. My favorite part.
I seem to remember that one was very close to a concert also, where we just needed one more track to fill in a gap, I think.
And if we're also being honest about what we remember, I remember so vividly Justin Severini did that little solo before the track, and he nailed it. It was freaking awesome. But like then he was so hyped about the solo that he's like, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, you know, and I'm trying to sing and freestyle over this, and I'm just like, I'm good, I'm not that good, man. I'll never forget it. Just like I probably look like a deer in the head. Like,
I just took off.
oh god. And then to his credit, I didn't even bring it up. Like after he was done, he's like, yeah, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm like, yeah, I guess. As we're all drinking the water, baby boy. That group was never more hydrated than at a damn Rhapsody concert, man. I feel like everybody threw down 5 bottles. They're like, oh,
well, I mean, it's there. You got to drink it. Plus, you got to get yourself ready for the after effects later that evening.
Yeah, that's true. Couple of those parties weren't always harmonious, man.
No, there was some good times though. It was a lot sometimes, but definitely some good times.
Indeed, man. Yeah, I never looked at a turkey pastry the same way.
I still have actually from Rhapsody. It's now in my toolbox in the garage.
What's that? I'm sorry. Say that one part again.
What was that?
Say that part again. I'm sorry, dude. You still have one? You
said? It's all good. Yeah, I still have one. It's in my toolbox in the garage.
Man.
Wasn't gonna use it for like what it's supposed to, but we'll keep it for the car stuff if we ever need it. But it was still there. At last check.
Many uses for the turkey pastry, man. One of my favorite memories also from those rehearsals with just the guys is one every now and again, if I'm being honest, man, and Greg was doing a job that I couldn't do if he paid me $1 million, let's be clear. But there were times where Greg would be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and like he wouldn't need to say it, and he would like count us in like 3 times before like actually saying 1, 2, go. And we'd be like, we know, you know, like you would just have the whole group like, yeah, it's like, oh no, you're still counting.
I want to make sure you're ready.
Man, it was at the point I just thought you were maybe forgetting 5 or something like that. No.
I was like, I knew sometimes after 4, I just one more time around and we got it.
Yeah, man. But another one of my favorites is I think we were singing In the Still of the Night. I think. Don't quote me on that. But there was the drastic slowdown for that. And there was you trying to signal us. And you're like, watch me. Watch me. Yeah, which I freaking love that. Anytime somebody, like, I'm a sucker for that. Anytime somebody tries to like maintain their notes and like still communicate, like I dig that. Something about that really tickles my funny bone. But then Greg says, and I get that this is not the most PC thing in the world, but 1, we're young, and 2, like, it's just funny. And I'm sorry that it's funny, but it is. But Greg's like, watch me, watch the retard. Which of course means the slowdown. But I mean, I'm not exactly proud that I find this funny, but for the time in our lives, that's hilarious, man. It was really, I remember being in a fit of laughs as a group for a good 5 minutes of that.
Probably not the best choice of words given the setting, but
no.
You know.
Well, no, you were saying like our
kind of got there.
You were saying watch the slowdown, but it definitely came out kind of the other way. It was good stuff.
Well, when you say it in your voice and you're like gesticulating like all over the place, it's just setting yourself up for failure.
Gesticulating, man. Nice colloquialism, bro.
I learned something in college, right?
I love it, man. I love it. You know what? Honestly, to this day, the coolest thing I learned in college, I didn't know this at the time. Obviously, I know it now. I didn't know until freshman year of college that if an animal only exists in a zoo, it's considered extinct.
There you go. I did not know that.
There you go.
I felt like maybe I read it in fact.
Was that? Yeah, man. So, Greg, in addition to um, being the director for Rhapsody, you were also very involved in music, playing the sax. You were part of the jazz band at your college, among many other things. Um, I want to just take a moment to recognize you for what became a very distinct sound, and that was your solo on Charles Mingus's "Moanin'" on the Barry sax, something that can never be forgotten. Um, First of all, when I heard you play it initially, uh, it's just the kind of groove or kind of intro. It's not even a groove that really just stops a room, no matter what's going on in it, and it certainly achieved its goal there. Secondly, most of Charles Mingus's big songs, Wednesday Night Prayer Meeting, Eat That Chicken, all those kind of things are kind of built on kind of a group crescendo and kind of like, and then the cool down afterwards. And I mean, bottom line, man, it just set a tone, and it was lovely. I have to say, in a similar vein, I remember being at the concert the next semester, and you had given us a heads up that if you were selected out of the little hat for whoever got to be picked for a solo, you were going to try and quote "Moanin'" in the solo that you played. And lo and behold, I picked you out of the hat legitimately. And then every time after that, our friends, because it was all our group of friends, we would just pick out of the hat and we would say the name of a friend we wanted to hear. But I want to be very clear that when I picked Greg, it literally picked Greg on the sheet. And then we tried to do it for a third semester, and Stavely said we couldn't do it because he but anyway, I remember picking you legitimately, and I remember you doing the solo, and I remember this brief moment of not panic. I want to stress that. It wasn't panic, but it was like very sudden thought, we'll say. And suddenly I hear you play, because I'm like, I don't know if you're locking eyes with me because you're playing, but I'm locking eyes with you. And I hear you play like, and I just popped. And I literally came up out of the seat, and I thought it was lovely. And I remember speaking to you after the show, and if I remember correctly, you said something like you wanted to play the quote, but you realized you were playing the song too slow or something like that. Do you have any memories of kind of that second time around the carousel there?
That actually does sound vaguely familiar. Because I think we always got to his Stavely's thing was just, you pick your tempo, and then I definitely did it way too slow to like make it a convincing quote to throw in there. Yeah. It was just like a string of notes more than anything. But no, that does sound familiar. I know that there was a few of those concerts. I remember doing some really trying to be the weirdest solo in the bunch for those. But yeah. Usually it was me trying to play stuff way too fast, which was always kind of weird and fun.
So you went the other way for
this. But yeah, this was the really slow one, I think.
I'll tell you, man, it sounds so stupid, man, but I'll never forget that look in your eyes, because it was just like, you could tell like gears were turning, dude. Like there was nothing, it was pure unadulterated, like how am I going to get out of this kind of thing, Oh, man, I treasure that. I really do, more than you know. Dude. So, Greg, much like me, you're far more than music. We also spent a great deal of time playing intramural sports throughout our time at York College.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be the first one to tell you, man, this is not the reason I brought this up. But I spoke to Dennis Madden the other day, which was awesome, I have to admit. Good to have the Corn brothers back together. I told him that I was going to be trying to get you on the show, and I asked him, I was like, anything, I asked him about other people in college as well, but he said, anything you want to be sure to ask Greg about. He said, yeah, ask Greg about how in intramural basketball, the only fight we ever got in was one he started. And I was just like, oh my God. So why don't you take, because I do remember the fight, but I don't remember much of what kind of led to it. Like, is there any story there? You can feel free to please.
Yeah, so we were playing, it was one of the fraternities.
XP, I remember that. I'll fill in that.
Yeah, okay, there you go. One of the grody fraternities, not one of the nice ones. And I remember, I think I was going in for like a layup on a fast break, and this like little munchkin guy like undercut me.
You're trying to do another fight.
And then I got up off the ground, and for some reason I like got all up in his face, and then I remember Albus was getting in there too.
Oh yeah, I bet.
That's
right.
He was like the muscliest guy we had, I think.
And then
I don't remember if that was the same game that the other dude got like two people got ejected from their team, I think.
That's right.
And we were just trying to keep our team from not getting ejected because we didn't have very many spares. Just stop. I think you had like Denny on the bench, and that was like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's about it. It was just a really hard check on a layup, if I remember correctly. And I think Albus was more the instigator than me, but I know I definitely was pretty fired up coming up.
Yeah, no, I pretty fired up. I do remember though. I looked at the guy I was guarding. I was just like, yo, if they really go, we could just fake it. And he's just like, yeah, all right, cool. I was like, all right. We'll take turns pretending to hit each other. It was a good laugh. But at the end of the day, I had your back.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Man. Oh, dude, I forgot about that game where those people got ejected. Yeah, that was. Those games got intense, man.
Yeah, that was. It was like getting way too intense for intramural basketball.
Yes. I remember one time this guy was chirping at Dennis, and Dennis like pulled a behind the back move, and the guy on the bench said like he was gonna turn it over, and Dennis wound up like hitting the layup, and Dennis looked at him like he was gonna kill him. Because I remember like being on the bench. Oh, never mind. Yes, those were spirited games indeed.
There were some good intramural basketball games for sure, amongst other sports, but definitely basketball for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember. Oh man. Let's keep it on basketball real quick, but I do have one particular softball memory that really juts out. I do remember I told I had Denny on the show a little earlier, and but anyway, I remember the one time we had Mystery Mustache Monday on the day of an intramural basketball game, so we all had these bizarre mustaches during the Sprocket Pancake capitulation year, which was a relevant theme. We were in the hunt for the title of that. Yeah.
That was a good year. I remember that same day I had a my audio 1 class, we did live newscasts that got recorded. So I also had the mustache for my newscast recording. That's like the final project. I remember that as well. Had that it was like the same day, I think, that Monday.
Man, that's the only final impression you need, man. That's an A if I've ever seen it. And then, of course, we had the fabled no game scheduled.
No game scheduled. That still cracks me up.
I still have, it's obviously, not visible on the camera, but I still have hanging up the email from that day that says, please be advised. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and if Greg's gonna toot his own horn, I'm gonna toot mine real quick. I noticed that the previous intramural year, when our team name was the Sprocket Pancake Capitulation, um, which was genuinely just a name where we all picked, where three of us picked a random word and we turned that into a team name. Actually, you were Sprocket. Dude,
I was Sprocket.
yeah, you were the three. Whoa, wait a minute.
And Brett.
Stop.
Brett was the third one.
Brett was Pancake, yeah. And then I was Capitulation.
It was in Rhapsody, I think, when we made that up.
Yeah, so we made up that team name, bizarrely, and it was a pretty good team. But then during that season, I realized that when a team didn't have a game, it would say no game scheduled. And me just kind of being, a smart ass, I guess. The next season came around, and I'm just like, yeah, we should name our team no game scheduled, because that's how they put it on the sheet last year. And so, to your college's credit, they let us keep our name, and they made it say no game, just no game, whenever a team didn't have a game. Lo and behold, I didn't think anything of it. Lo and behold, we get to our first basketball game of that season. The other team doesn't show up. Not at all. So, what I love is, one, we're living it up, because all we're doing is shooting around, playing amongst ourselves, laughing. I loved that the referees were like loving the fact that like they were there in their full garb, and the other team kind of spaced and thought that, I think they found it funnier than we did. And if I'm being honest with you, man, Rhapsody was cool. And there were definitely moments where you would hear people talk about Rhapsody on campus, this, that, or the other thing. But it was legitimately the only time where I heard like complete strangers around campus be like, yo, did you hear about that basketball team that didn't show up yesterday? And like, are they going to get their deposit back? And it was so cool to be a fly on the wall for those conversations, for people that, had no idea that, in all honesty, like, we were the team that kind of did that for them, man. I treasure that moment quite a bit, man. That was, and then I get back to the, and Denny says, and I quote, this is what Denny said. And this is where, I swear to God, he's like the Terminator in certain ways. He really is. Because then he says, I quote, he says, it's paying immediate dividends. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. Oh, man. And if there's ever anything, that's a t-shirt for Denny waiting to happen, man. Paying immediate dividends.
So, yeah, and I know that particular game was so hysterical for a couple reasons. And then I'm sure you'll remember. So the first is that was the year they didn't have enough teams for the non-competitive league. So we had to play with all of, like, the serious people.
Yes.
And that was one of the serious teams that lost to us. That was our only win that year.
That's right. Yeah.
The second thing was Matt Day just dying on the sidelines, and you talking with him, and then I remember you just in the middle of the laugh going, you know what the worst part is? We just cost them their deposit. And then everyone lost it. And the third thing, and I'm going to embarrass myself because I don't remember the guy's name, but do you remember Brett's friend? He played with us too in pickup, but it was the older guy from like the Dominican Republic.
Jose. Yeah.
So we recruited Jose to our team. It was the only game he could come to. It was the one that we didn't even play.
Yo, yes. And Jose could play.
Used him. We could have used him. But yeah, that was what I remember from that game. God, that still cracks me up to this day.
What a splendid time. Yes. Yeah, dude. And also, last thing on the basketball front, when Big Phil scored his first points, that was elation, man. that was real joy. That was purity in that.
It was, yeah, fantastic. I just remember him. He was always there. Had his like Pantera or his like Megadeth or some, some sort of heavy metal T-shirt on with his ponytail. Like he wasn't the most athletic guy on the floor, but he was definitely the tallest.
Definitely the tallest, and then finally, like so much of what he had, and it wasn't totally unskilled. Like it wasn't like he was just chucking it, but he just wasn't a shooter at all, and just like eventually, he's just like tapping it up to himself, and you just have everybody on the court are just like, like, come on, dude, you can do it, And then finally, the one guy who's legitimately close to 7 foot. I don't think he quite is, but the one guy who legitimately, height-wise, is like 6'9", finally gets his points, and you have like a whole gym going like, yeah, It was so cool, man. I was all about that levity, man. That's great content, man. Great content indeed. And my last thing that at least I wanted to mention about intramural sports, were you there? And you may not have been, to be fair. The softball game when it was raining, and they wanted to call the game, and we convinced them. Both teams said, like, yo, man, we just want to play. Like, like, we don't care. Like, let's keep playing. And we finally convinced them to play. And then the very next batter was Denny, and he swung the bat, and it slipped out of his hands, and it almost hit the third base coach. Do you remember that at all?
That does sound vaguely familiar. That must have been like early softball.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, we won 2 years in a row the co-ed softball.
Yeah, because I remember we played. I think we play an all guys team one year, and then we played co-ed the next two. Won our league both those years.
Yeah.
But that may have been that first year. Does that sound? I don't know.
Probably was. Yeah, but bottom line.
I think it ended right after that.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh no! As soon as that happened, it was just like, no, like, F your opinion, like, like, game's over now.
That does sound familiar. That
might have been that day too. I'm really not even lying. Like, that might have been that day.
That may be. Yeah, that does sound. The more we talk about it, the more familiar it sounds. But yeah, that may have been a Met day also. Like, nope, that's it. We're done here.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dan. Yeah.
Oh man.
Greg, man, there might not be much of a story here, admittedly, but I at least wanted to bring up one of the cool things. You were kind enough. I was honored to be a part of course, your wedding, and that, of course, what came with that was being a part of your bachelor party. And I have to say, what was really cool about your bachelor party was being able to hop around at that outdoor park. Checking out the Tro's Brewery was tremendous, man. Like, that, in many ways, was a dream come true to be checking out where all those great beers were coming from. If there's not much of a story here, like, don't feel pressured to, make something just because I asked you something. But, like, what went into kind of your thought process for kind of those activities? Because it was a really kind of unique setting that I really appreciated it, because we just kind of spent the day doing some outdoor and, really active things. And then by night, we hit up some bars, and your brother was dressed in like all denim, which was startling. Nah, man, but it was a really cool experience. If there's not much to tell, don't force it. But, like, take me through what kind of went through all that.
Yeah, there's really not. Brett planned it.
Oh no.
So I was along for the ride. I think he said, bring a bag wear comfortable closed-toed like shoes, sneakers,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's about it. I was like, oh, I think
Right
he maybe
on.
said bring some water. But
Okay. Well, no, that's good advice. Well,
that
good
was
job,
about.
Greg. No,
I think I found out that morning what we were doing. So
well, cool, man. Bottom line, you did you right. That was a cool.
not much to tell on my part.
How's your brother doing? All right.
Yeah, he's good. I was actually texting him this morning. He lives in Kansas, so he
Whoa.
works for University of Kansas. And he's like he's like an associate. I don't know, like assistant. He's in like student discipline. Like he works for the college, like in
All right.
residence life.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, he's doing that. We were texting this morning about ancestry. He had texted me and said that we were descended from a Scottish lord that fought with William Wallace. And then he said, yeah, his name was Sir Adam. Obviously, his name is Adam as well. Um, and then he proceeds to send me this picture. Um, it's basically a screen grab from Braveheart. And then he photoshopped his face onto one of the guys in the background. And I was just like, oh, this whole thing was a setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, props to
I was
that.
laughing. And then he said, no, we really are. His name really was Sir Adam, yada, 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 whatever his title was. But yeah, he had a good time with that.
Good.
But no, he's good. Just living it up. Been baking a lot during his quarantine. So we get some snaps of that every now and again from whatever the creation was. But yes, everything's good from what I know so far.
I'm happy to hear that. And that bachelor party turned into, of course, that lovely wedding where I commuted on a Friday from work to Pennsylvania. I do remember, not that this is terribly interesting either, but I remember showing up right on time to stand where I was supposed to for the rehearsal, and we just kind of went from there. And I'll tell you, man, not enough people in the world. I don't even care who hears me say it. I'm a 31-year-old heterosexual man. All right, not enough people know how good you look in that navy blue suit, bro. Navy boy. The world
I
has.
appreciate that. I still rock the hell out of that suit.
Yeah. Man, man. I just wear this nice jacket because I'm the host, you know. This is my
There you go.
Greg, man. First of all, are there any stories that you wanted to make it a point to cover today?
I don't know. I was thinking about it earlier today. Well, actually, since you texted me the other day, I think we've hit a lot of them. The poppy seed one and the no game schedule were the two that kind of came to mind in terms of just stuff. But no, I mean, I know there's been a lot of good times just, throughout the years, so, I definitely, I'll always consider an honor whenever we get to hang out or come down, like especially when he came down just for a 1-year-old's birthday party spontaneously. So, but I know one thing I distinctly do remember though, and it wasn't even in college, it was well after college actually. So I remember we had talked, it was like, hey, we haven't really hung out in a while, so I'm gonna come out. So like I drove out to Long Island.
Yeah.
It was like it was a weekend, I think. So I think I came on Friday and went home a couple days later. But we, hung out at, I think it was at your parents' house at that point, I guess.
Right.
So we hung out. I remember I know we went and jammed at someone's house,
Yeah.
and then we went to the gig that you had set up with the fundraiser. That was like the first one.
That was my first fundraiser. What a moment, dude. Hell yeah. My first fundraiser ever. And that's where I was barely playing the ukulele, so I needed all my friends. And I still need them for support. I don't mean that the way it sounds, but like now, if I wanted to play for 2 hours, I could. But back then, it was just like, hey, Jay, hey, Ben, you coming? Like, because, oh, dude, yes. Oh, what a time.
Yeah, and one more thing I remember from that, and I don't know why, but like So I remember we went to a place one day for lunch. We got wings. It was at the strangest place. It looked kind of like a tiki bar, but in the middle of like a shopping center.
You're right. Hurricane wings. There you go.
But I remember that. They were pretty good from what I remember as well. But I don't know why that sticks with me too. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend. I was glad I came. I think it was for the fundraiser thing. That's what it was. I came out for that. And jammed. I remember playing a lot of the cajon
Yeah.
throughout the
Oh,
evening. Um, but yeah, no, that's one that comes to mind just from like kind of racking the brain real quick.
that's just a great.
So that was a good time.
Anytime we can all get together and play some music, man. I remember that. Oh, dude, I'm so glad you brought that up. What a special time. Let's try and I was asking Greg real quick because again, I was really, and I'm still not very good. I don't feel like that either. But like, I was especially a novice at the ukulele, and like Greg is trying to cram so that I could learn like, hey, jealousy real quick, and he's like trying to tell me, just like okay, and then E, and I'm just like okay, and I'm like taking the moments to put my fingers down, and I'm just like E. And it's just like, and in my head, I'm just like, so you're saying that this is not going to be ready by 8 o'clock? Yeah. And it was, but it was still a beautiful time, man. Thank God for my friends then, and thank God for my friends even more now. Greg, here is the last story I wanted to end the show with. I know I have my perspective of it, but I would love to hear your perspective of the time you got new headphones.
Is that one more time? It kind of broke up a little bit. Sorry.
The time you got new headphones. Oh yeah, he knew it was coming. There it is.
I actually thought about that the other day because I committed the same mistake, although I did carry it out, which I'll share. So, yeah, I seem to remember I had my iPod that I jammed every day on the way to school, from my dorm or from my apartment. I think this was freshman year because I feel like the Lord was still with us at school.
The Lord was with us indeed.
But I had broken my headphones. My Apple headphones broke, so I had bought new ones, like actual Apple ones, for some reason. And it was shortly after I'd gotten them. We were sitting down for lunch or dinner or something in Scurv, and I, carefully rolled up my headphones and my iPod, put it in my back pocket, sat down, and immediately felt a crunch. And then I don't remember all the details, but I was like, I think I just broke my headphones or something like that. I remember you lost it though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not always a good friend at first impression. But my perspective, and I want to throw it back to you, I really do. But part of the reason I lost it is like Greg not having headphones was newsworthy. Like it was something we were aware of. Greg was used to having his iPod. He had brought up that like now that his headphones were broken, it was rough getting around. It kind of takes the joy out of the commute, walking to classes. I see him walk into the dining hall, affectionately known. I never got sick.
Neither.
So he's got the headphones in. And like I notice he has the headphones in. So I'm looking at him like, dude, I see you with the headphones. And Greg's like, yeah, I got my headphones. Like we're literally just like feeling ourselves just like there in the Johnson dining hall. And man, oh man. And so he takes them out and I'm just like, Greg, you got some headphones. He's like, yeah, I did, man. It feels great to be walking around again. Like literally, like not only does he have them, we're literally talking about how cool it is that he has headphones again. Like, if you wrote this down in a movie, you would be like, nah, dog, it didn't happen like that. There's no way. And lo and behold, Greg, with the greatest care in the world, is like, I'll wrap this up very nicely, so that when after I'm done with my meal, I can walk back to wherever I want to go and listen to it. And then he sits down, and I don't hear the crunch, but I just see like the face go like, like the face just drops, and he pulls it out. And it's just, you see like the damn things just like hanging apart from each other, and you just see, and Greg is a nicer dude than so many people. So like he's trying not to like let it affect him, but he's just like, oh man, like he's not actually saying this, to be clear, but his face is like, oh man, this is really disappointing, like, and so I'm losing it, man, because the poor guy has just had his heart broken, and I'm, like I said, man, like I'm not a good friend sometimes, and so, man, oh man, and I'm just like, did you just get those too? And he's just like, yeah, I did, and now they're broken. And I'm like, okay, and I remember I told you I had extra ones, but I asked Jamin if he could just take me up to the Walmart, and we got some new headphones. And I told the story. I work with this lovely person who puts up with a lot of stories she probably doesn't want to hear. But I told her the story about when I was able to give you the new ones, and I saw the color back in your face again, and it was a nice emotional moment between us, man. And I was happy to be able to be the one to provide you some headphones, man.
Awesome. No, that was good times. Good times.
Now, if I heard you correctly, you said like you did it again recently, or what?
No, I was the other day I had headphones. I was using them for work, I think, just up here listening to like training videos. But I carried them around like in my shirt pocket for the whole day because I just shoved them in there when I finished. And then in the evening, I was like, getting ready for bed. I took them out and I was like kind of, bundling them up.
I love the technique to this day, man.
Yeah, you got around and you wrap it a little bit and it kind of keeps them together. But no, it popped into my head the other day. I was like, yeah, I remember the stupid headphones that I squished back in college. And I never broken another pair like that. But I never really treated them gently either. It's just just the perfect storm, I think, that one pair of headphones really got the short end of the stick.
You just gotta wait for my next visit. The next time. That'll be splendid, man. Well, thank you so much for sitting here and reflecting with me.
Oh, no, definitely.
What a great evening.
Very, very honored to get the text the other day. So I'm more than happy to sit down with you and chat and reminisce a little bit.
There's no one I'd rather share some memories with me. Again, I appreciate the time. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Greg Poppy Seed Sullivan. Man, had a great time tonight, man. Thank you for everything.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.